All right, so something funny happened to me recently that's pretty appropriate for what we usually preach to our clients. You've heard us talk about, or at least I hope you've heard us talk about, gradual return to activity. Not having sharp spikes in your activity levels. I wrote those blogs on the acute chronic workload ratio. There's always an associated risk when you start a new activity or start something and pick something back up that you haven't done in a while. And that's exactly what happened to me is, I kind of had a little bit of a setback. And it's kind of funny. It's not so glamorous, but it was pretty funny. And then the follow-up to that is early loading. So when we talk about injuries, it's rarely beneficial to wait until the pain subsides, so to speak, because there's usually a lot of things you can do to get better. And when it comes to these kind of things, more often than not, it's a muscle or a tendon. And what I'll tell you is my wife and I love dancing, all right? Not so secret. We love music, we love dancing, and it's something that we started doing again recently. So I'd say in the past week, we've taken about 4 lessons. Usually about an hour to an hour and a half. Now, you want to talk about a sharp spike in activity? That's it. So yes, I had a dancing-related injury, but it's not what you would think. Most people would think, oh, my back or my ankle, depending on how aggressively you dance. This one was my shoulder. And normally our favorites and the go-to are like salsa dancing and Latin dancing, stuff like that. But we started a little bit more ballroom dancing. So that foxtrot and the waltz, they got me. No, seriously, so in ballroom dancing, your arms are out to the side. And I'm probably not a very good leader, but still my arm is out to the side and trying new things. And if you've ever had your arm outstretched for a while, you can feel your shoulders start to get tired and fatigued. And that's exactly what happened to me. After the first session, I was like, oh, wow, man, my shoulder's getting tired. It's burning. Let me take a break. Probably about 5 or 6 times. And then the second session, same thing happened, not as much. And then by the third lesson that we took, I really didn't feel it. So that was a good thing. But then the next morning I woke up, man, was my shoulder on fire. So it hurt with a lot of motion. I'm talking a sharp 6 out of 10 pain, a true 6. And I could barely lift it up with that pain and wincing and wanting to grab it. And even my patients all morning were like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I let them know because, I'm an open book, no secrets. I'm not ashamed of this. I think I'm a fairly decent dancer. So I was like, okay, I was working backwards and I kind of took a look at everything, the mechanism of injury. There was no active inflammation because it wasn't painful at rest. It was just with specific motions. There wasn't a traumatic incident. So I knew that, kind of working backwards, it wasn't a traumatic injury and there was nothing really torn or, nothing like that. So I understood that it was more of a sensitized tendon, meaning one of my tendons was really cranky. And what do we know about tendons is early loading. So this was a perfect opportunity for me to put into place what I preach. And so practicing what I preach, I got some dumbbells and I'm fortunate to be able to work through this all myself. But, I started doing some isolated lifts and some holds and progressive motions and progressive resistance, and it was feeling okay. First set in the morning, really no measurable change. By the second set in the afternoon, it was feeling a little bit better. I'd say maybe a 3 out of 10. And then by the evening, after I did about 3 or 4 sets of exercises, it was a 1. Like I could barely even tell that something had happened. And this is in less than 24 hours. I had the pain come down from a 6 to about a 1. And later that evening, we had another dance lesson, and then I had 0 issues, and that was perfect. So really is a nice textbook approach to early loading of a tendon that's not inflamed, getting pain levels down, and improving function. And usually what people do is they avoid all activity and they rest and they shut it down until the pain goes away. Well, for us, for tendons, once we figured out what it is, we want to start to load it pretty quickly. So again, it wasn't, nothing glamorous. I wasn't doing anything really fancy. It's just holding my arm out, and I did it too much and my shoulder started to bother me quite a bit. And then I figured out what it was and was able to get the pain level down and get back to activity, which is the real take home there. So that's something we practice, or something that we preach a lot. And, I hope that these real world applications kind of ring home with you guys. It doesn't always have to be a traumatic injury. But, the goal is always get the pain level down, and there are many ways to do that, and then get you right back to it. So, that's just my little anecdote. Hope you can take something away from it. But bottom line is I'm going to get back out there and keep cutting up some rugs. So my shoulder's feeling a lot better, and we'll just keep it moving forward. Thanks.